Hey, Army fans, this is Colonel Sam coming to you from Chezow, Poland, where I'm here for work, but never too far removed to not be thinking about Army football. And this is a very important week for Army football because Friday night we have the Friday night under the lights. That is the spring game. There's still a lot of question marks that need to be filled for the Army team. Um, the nice thing to know about the Army football team from 2025 to 2026 is that we didn't really lose anyone to the transfer portal. That's a great thing. But we did experience the loss of a couple of very important components of the Army coaching staff. Nate Woody, the defensive coordinator, has departed, as we know, and Mike Vitti, someone who we never thought we would see leave the Army football coaching staff ever, has departed to Miami. Nate Woody went to Cincinnati to be the defensive coordinator. Mike Vitti has left to Miami to be the tight ends coach. I'm going to focus on the Army offense right for this segment and talk about what I believe needs to be accomplished this week and into the Friday night under the lights game, the spring game, so that the Army team and the Army offense can be set up for success going into the fall season when they start back to practice in August. Let's start with the offensive line. Army brings back an absolutely loaded offense this year. As a matter of fact, the only player that is glaringly going to be missed in the Army roster from last year is Noah Short. It's going to be very interesting to see how Army goes about finding the next man up that can accomplish all that Noah Short was able to do. Noah Short's going to end up playing in the pros. I'm just calling it right now. And Noah Short, let's not forget, was the first Army football player ever in Army's distinguished history to have over 1,000 yards rushing in his career, over 1,000 yards passing in his career, and he also has the most yards per touch of any Army offensive player in Army's distinguished history. So we wish Noah the best, and we know we're going to see him playing on the gridiron for some team in whatever capacity come Sundays in the very near future. But let's talk about the offensive line. Well, Army brings back 4 out of 5 starters, anchored by all-world Brady Small, who is another player who is going to end up playing in the pros one day, I do believe. He's one of the best centers in college football in FBS level. And to his side is Paolo Gennarelli, who is another all-world player, and I expect is going to return to completely dominant form this fall. And the nice thing to know is that when I said 4 out of 5 starters returning, is that there are several players on the roster who had enough playing time this past season that you could also consider them to be returning starters. And all of them are over 300 pounds, very well experienced. The question mark is this: Mike Vitti. Mike Vitti was the offensive line coach. Mike Vitti was the offensive line coach when working alongside Mark Drinkall before he departed, coached the offensive line in 2024 that won the Distinguished Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in FBS football. I believe that this offensive line has the talent to return to the Joe Moore Award. Mike Vitti is now replaced by Cheston Blackshear, who will be the new offensive line coach, and he's got his work cut out for him. It's going to be very interesting to focus in and see what his coaching style is and what effect he has on ensuring that there is a continuity of the offensive line and improvement. Continuous improvement is important. And in triple option football, the things that this offensive line needs to work on, and I would like to see a lot of in this coming season, is the fact that they work together as a unit, because there are no individuals on an offensive line. They work as a unit. They dominate the line of scrimmage. They get the push on every single play. They never get beaten to their block. And then we see a lot of trap, counter, veer, and other types of blocking schemes run very effectively that not only create the holes needed for the triple option, but also create the deception, because something that a lot of people don't really recognize is the fact that the offensive line is where a lot of the deception starts in triple option football. I believe this offensive line has the talent and the moxie to make it happen. And I trust in Coach Monk and in his pick of Cheston Blackshear to be the new offensive line coach. I think we're going to see some great things from the 2026 offensive line. I believe that they will return to the form of the Joe Moore Award winner of the 2024 season. And it'll be a good thing for the skill players that I'm going to talk about next. Let's talk about the B-backs, or the fullbacks. I just call them fullbacks. Army has as loaded a fullback backfield as they've had in the Monken era, in my opinion. And it could have been even more loaded had it not been for Briggs Bartosh having to call an end to his football career due to the repeat stinger injuries that he's been experiencing. It's very unfortunate, because Briggs Bartosh, at the time that he went down, I believe was the most effective player from the B-back or fullback position that Army had during the 2025 season. He was very powerful and he was very fast. And prior to the announcement that he had ended his career, I really expected that during 2026 we would see Briggs moved to run a lot of plays from the slot back position, and what a force he would have been at his size and speed, running plays from the slot back, a possible contender to replace the talent of Noah Short. But we do wish Briggs the best. He's still a cadet. He's still out there performing on the fields of friendly strife in his assistance to the strength coaching of the Army football team. And, he'll be an outstanding officer one day, I'm sure of it. But in the meantime, we have America's fullback, Jake Rendina. Jake Rendina's game, his coming out game, was really the Fenway Bowl. This is the fullback that I've been expecting to see from Jake Rendina this whole time. When given the opportunity to have the touches, the guy is a competitive power lifter. He is a massive individual. He's old school with his roll on his neck, and he just reminds you of these old school fullbacks, and you'd love to see him get the ball. But not only is he an effective runner when he gets in space, he's also an outstanding blocker. He's a team player. He's in on every play, and he's a motivator. He's a dominant force in the huddle and when he lines up. And he is the worst nightmare a defensive back could have when he breaks the line of scrimmage and he's rumbling downfield. And there's a lot of UConn defensive backs who were hurting after that game was over because of Jake Rendina. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jake have a great year this year in every aspect of the game when he's in the huddle. Then we have God's Power, Nawahi. GP, I predicted, was going to have a coming out game against Navy. Unfortunately, he didn't really play against Navy, and I really don't know why. So I was one game off in his coming out party, and his coming out party happened in the Fenway Bowl, where he had 12 carries for 171 yards. A lot of people like to compare him to Kanye Udo, and it's a good comparison. Very similar in their running styles, but GP he's bigger and he's more powerful, and the sky's the limit for this kid. And I believe that as he develops more fully in all aspects of his game, he's going to be one of the best players Army has ever had from that position. And I really do believe that if he stays focused, gets enough touches, enough proper reads from the quarterback, the guy's going to see a 1,000-yard season this year. And let's just hope that he also looks at Kanye as an example for why he needs to stay at Army and not say, I need to jump into the transfer portal. And then we have Carson Smith. Carson Smith is a total team player. This kid is big. He's a 6-footer. He's about 240 pounds. He's an extremely good blocker. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch the UTSA game from last season. Noah Short broke an 80-yard touchdown run. The key to that run was a kick-out block by none other than Carson Smith. Just go back and watch the play. You'll understand what I'm talking about. This kid can do everything. And so what that means is in this stable of B-backs or fullbacks, there'll be no drop-off. Whichever player is in the huddle, the Army play has just as much chance for success. And that's a good thing. And so looking forward to seeing all three of those guys carrying the rock, knocking people to their feet in pancake blocks out of the backfield, and just doing everything they can to motivate the offense to success. Then we got the tight ends. You got Tex Brannon and Parker Pulaski coming back. These guys are veterans. I would love to see the tight ends get a lot more touches on the passing plays. Something that Army has really struggled with inexplicably in the past few years is getting the ball in the hands of the tight ends. But isn't it interesting that when they do get the ball into the hands of the tight ends, it's always a great play. And the reason is because you got some great athletes who are running from the tight end position. These guys run effective patterns. They're good at catching the ball. And opposing defenses have gotten a little soft to the idea that Army's going to throw to the tight end. And so they often leave them out of coverage, which makes them wide open, especially on backside screen plays and crossing routes where you flood the opposite side and get them in space where they can catch the ball. So I'm looking forward to seeing these guys. Oh, and by the way, both of them are very good blockers. They're both veterans, as I mentioned. They're really good blockers, and they fit in very well with the offensive game plan. And then you got the quarterbacks, of course. All right, so it's looking pretty obvious that Cale Helms is going to be the starter. The kid had a fantastic year. He got thrust into the spotlight unexpectedly last season in the Tarleton State game. And then when he finally, his big moment on stage as a starter was the win against Kansas State, which was a coming out party. He was still struggling a little bit, but then by the time the UAB game was at its final gun, it was very clear that he was the undeniable starter of the offense at quarterback. A year under the belt. Just looking back, I just want to say that his Cal year as a starter was statistically better than Bryson Daly's Cal year, except for one thing. And he only came 1 point short of that. And that was in his Cal year, he statistically dominated Bryson Daly except for winning a Commander-in-Chief trophy. I think things are going to change in that regard. Who do I think is going to be the backup? I believe it's going to be, as of right now, I think it's going to be Bryson Luter. This kid running the scout team gave the Army defense just fits. He's having a whale of a spring practice. He's undeniably an outstanding talent, and he's going to be the Army quarterback of the future. I don't think he's going to be the starter this year, but we will see a lot of Bryson Luter, probably in mop-up this coming season as well as in future seasons. The kid is a winner. He is an excellent athlete, runs a triple option very well. And then we've got Ethan Washington. Ethan Washington is still recovering from his injury, but we're going to see him come back in time for the fall practice in August, and he'll be competing for the backup spot with Bryson. Now, all that being said, so y'all are looking at me and you're like, hey, Colonel, what's the point? You're telling us all about all these great players that are on Army's. Oh, sorry, I didn't even mention the slot backs. All right. So we got Samari Howard coming back. Samari Howard Samari Howard has had flashes of brilliance in the past 2 seasons. I think that Samari Howard is going to be one of the breakout players this coming year. And we're going to see a lot more offensive production, especially when a spotlight gets on him now that Noah Short has departed. The question is next man up at slot back. Who's going to be the next Noah Short? Who's going to take over for Noah Short? This is a question mark that has got to be filled in the spring game as well as in the fall practices. The next man up is somebody on the roster, and there are several slot backs, which is why I'm not trying to name names because I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody is going to step up and surprise us. Is going to be that name on Saturdays that we're repeating, that who's this guy until midseason we're like, oh yeah, we're expecting performance out of this guy. He was the next man up. Then now that I've mentioned that, let's just talk about, hey, what are the keys to the 2026 season on offense? The key to Army's offense is remembering how to run the triple option. There are no feature backs in a triple option offense. There aren't. There are players who will gain more yards, who will have better seasons, but a triple option offense run effectively means that no one is the feature back because everyone gets equal touches. Because the triple option is run off of effective blocking schemes and reads by the quarterback. And it gives everyone the opportunity to have the ball. And when the read is done correctly, you will catch the defense out of position for a big gainer every time. It may be the fullback on one play for a big gainer. It may be the slot back on a pitch for a big gainer. It may be the quarterback on a quarterback read on the second option, cutting for a big gainer. But that's the way the offense works, and that's what Army's offense needs to remember how to do. And it has been a little dismaying the past few seasons to see how Army's offense has devolved into one-dimensional play where it is almost single wing with the quarterback carrying the ball over 50% of the plays from either under center, in the midline, or just doing a direct snap from the shotgun on almost every play. It makes it too easy for defenses to read, and that's not the way triple option is supposed to run. So I'm really hoping that this season Army's offense remembers that if you call yourself a triple option offense, it means you actually run a triple option offense. And I want to see that in the fall. I want to see that every game. I don't want to see any game where they walk into and they go single wing type approach or single dimension with one person getting the ball over and over and over again. And by that I mean the quarterback. It's time to move away from that and get back to your roots. I would go so far as even saying I wouldn't even mind them seeing them line up in the wishbone occasionally. Why? Nobody runs it anymore. Why not? Line up in the wishbone and run a few old school wishbone plays. Throw some players, some teams off balance. I guarantee you they didn't practice for it. Now, again, I really do expect that Army's offense this season, in the 2026 season, is going to be light years ahead of where it was in 2025. I really do. I think they're going to figure out how to get the ball in the end zone. They're going to have a time of possession dominance. I think that their veteran experience is going to see them turn the ball over way less. One thing, I'm sorry, Brady Anderson, I didn't forget you guys. Wide receivers. Hey, Brady Anderson is a great wide receiver, and Army has some other great wide receivers in the fold. Wide receiver is not typically the position you think of in Army football, but in the Monken era, there have been some great wide receivers. Brady Anderson is the latest of the iteration of having a really good set of hands downfield on the option pass that is there to collect the long gainer. Go back and look at the Air Force game and how that game concluded in 2025, and take a look at who hauled in that long pass to put Army in field goal range to win the game. Army's in a good spot when it comes to wide receiver. But let me get back to where I was saying. What is the number one thing that Army offense needs to figure out this offseason? In spring practice, in Friday nights under the lights, and in fall practice, and in next season. Here it is. I'm going to tell you straight up. They need to get off the schneid where it comes to Navy. Yeah. They need to get away from this uber conservative approach to the Navy football game that has been a disaster for 7 straight seasons. It may come as a surprise to many of you to know that from 2019 through the 2025 season, Army's offense has failed to score. And I'm talking about the offense. I'm not talking about defensive touchdowns or anything like that. Army's offense from 2019 through last season has failed to get the ball into the end zone more than once in any Army-Navy game. And when the chips are down, the Army offense has been a dud. Last season, in the second half, when Navy was attempting to gift Army the football game, Army's offense generated 1 first down and went 3 and out the rest, or interception the rest of the game. And 3 out of the last 5 seasons, Army has rolled into the Army-Navy game only needing to beat the Squids to win the Commander-in-Chief trophy outright. And in 3 out of the 5 past seasons, Army came up on the short end of the stick with an absolutely atrocious offensive production because of an extremely conservative approach to triple option football that tried to make, for lack of a better way of putting it, the quarterback as the feature back. When you do that and you think that the game is going to be a sledgehammer fight, and you go in and your sledgehammer is the quarterback, on the other side of the ball, it just means that the Navy defense has had their job made extremely easy for them because they only need to key on one player every play, every down. And there's no reason to make it so easy for Navy to defend the Army offense every season. Let's open up the playbook. Army, you've got to figure out how to expand the field, get the ball into the playmakers' hands, and put points on the board every time you got the ball when you play the Squids. And I don't care if you're up by a touchdown. I don't care if you're up by 1 point. If you're up by 2 touchdowns, your goal when you take the field on offense against Navy is to put another touchdown on the field no matter what it takes. And to keep that defense of theirs guessing on what your next play is going to be and who it is that's going to get the ball. Because what's been going on has not been working. And it's time to get that trophy back at West Point. And it's really going to require the offense to step up to the plate and dominate Navy and dominate them, not just in time of possession, not just in the fact that they have gained more yards, but dominate on the scoreboard by blowing those Squids out. And it's time. If ever there was an offense that was loaded to make it happen, this is the year. I think it's going to be. And I'm looking forward to seeing what shakes out on Friday night under the lights, as well as what happens in the fall practice. I'm going to be back shortly to talk about defense and special teams, and that'll be interesting to talk about because there's some big holes there. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Coming to you from Chazal, this is Colonel Sam. Hope you enjoyed this. Go Army, beat Navy, and have a pleasant evening. I'm envious of any of you all who are going to be at the Friday night under the lights. But by golly, as a new ticket holder on the East Stands, I'm going to be seeing a lot of you at Army football games this fall as Army rolls into season 2026. So good night, everybody, and have a great Army day.